Welcome to part 18 of the 1951 Ford F1 rebuild series. Man, this cowl's not an easy thing to get out. If you look at the end of the last video, the actual cowl cover has got four 5/16 headed screws in the bottom that hold it to this, to the lift point there. And then there are 8 hex-headed screws that go around this flange face. And this flange squashes the seal. There's underneath and on top the seal. And so, then what? I mean, this thing's been a real chore to get out of here. So, let me show you, if you're having to do this, how to do it. Took me a long time to figure it out. First, put it up as best you can. Now, this end has the handle on it, far end from the camera. So you've got to start by getting this end out. So let's see if we can do that. Like that. And then once you have that out, turn it and pull the handle in. So that's it. That's how you get it out. Now we're going to go to work cleaning it up, and we're going to prime it. And we prime a bunch of other stuff here soon. And probably going to replace the screen. Screen will look terrible, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. May replace the screen. Definitely got to replace the seal. And the handle looks fine enough on this end. So we don't need to replace the handle. It's just got a pin or a screw in it, excuse me, holds the handle on. So we're just going to replace the seal. We may replace the screen. I'll take a look at the screen a little better. Doesn't really look bad. Doesn't really look like it's necessary to replace it, so yeah, we'll leave it. Don't spend $1, you don't have to. So we'll just get the seal when the time comes. Alright, here we go. Alright, well, before we get started, I'll tell you what we're going to do next. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to chop the roof. So it wasn't really, that's a pretty major bodywork type deal, and I was thinking, well, we just do the minimum to get it driving. And then I realized one of the minimums to get it driving is to get glass in it, at least the front windshield. And if I'm going to have a front windshield made, or buy one pre-made, then I chop it later, then I'm going to end up wasting that. So I decided, let's go ahead and chop it. We'll chop it now, and then we'll get windows made for it proper, and yeah, move on. So this weekend we're going to start the chop. Plan for the chop, you can see roughly right here, we're looking at a 3-inch chop. Those lines are not correct. I'm just looking at the distance, but so we're going to cut 3 inches out of it and drop it down. There's several ways to go about it. My opinion is we're going to go ahead and cut the top into quarters and then reset the 4 corners and then fill the gaps in the middle. Some people will show cutting out sections and bending things in, and basically leaving the top and the bottom, bending them together. I'm not in on that. I just want to cut out the 3 inches, quarter the roof, and then set the 4 pieces on, and then fill the gaps in between, fill the gaps in the window, the whole 9. So we're going to get started on that this weekend. That'll be the next thing we do. I'm going to make preps this week. Got some friends coming over to give me a hand this weekend, and yeah, it's time to cut the roof off this thing. This should get interesting. Well, now that Tropical Storm Imelda has passed, we're going to get on with chopping this truck. So 3 inches. It's going to take 3 inches out of it. I've seen another truck. It was a 49 Ford, I think. Black Betty is the name of it. And you can check it on Old Time Garage YouTube channel. They took 3 inches out. I thought it looked really swift. It's not ridiculously low, but it certainly scales the truck better for the fact that it's going to be riding lower than it would stock. And so we're going to chop 3 inches. That's where I got the number. I liked his chop, and the cabs are functionally identical. Anyway, so how do you slice this thing down? Well, let me show you a few things. If you you'll cut 3 inches out here. That's great. And we're gonna start by cutting the top off. Cut the top off and set it aside, and we're gonna cut out the 3-inch gap. Then we're gonna quarter the cab, front to back, side to side. We're gonna quarter it down the middle so that we can attach these sections back to here. And then there'll be gaps in the middle all the way across. There are other ways to chop a truck. This is the way I would prefer. I think it looks better than the other way, but this is certainly more work than the option where you basically pie cut and you bring your A-pillars in, and you basically make the truck fit the top instead of the top fit the truck. In this case, when you quarter it, you're making the top fit the truck, or the cab. Anyway, so we're going to take out this 3 inches all the way around. When we drop this down, if we line up this door pillar right here, we're going to end up with a gap, or it's going to be too short. It's going to come in here, and so it's going to come up, go over, and go up. Because we're not going to line our window up. So what we're going to have to do then, we're going to have to cut the window this way, all the way, and then we're going to split it out the middle. And then we're going to have to adjust this in, which will mean we'll have to put another piece of metal in here to fill this section. And but in the end of the day, we've got to line all our window pillars up, or window sills up, and then all of our door pillars need to be aligned. So yeah, we're going to start marking it up. I'm going to get ready to cut it up. Still another day or two before we cut it, but go ahead and start getting it figured out and taped up so we know where we're going to be cutting at. All right, well, the back's all marked out. Still need to mark the A-pillars and the window. Windows as well. I've got to take all the window hardware out of the doors. I want to take all the window hardware out of the doors and go ahead and deal with those before I start marking those up. So we'll do that next. But you can see here's where we're going to cut first here. Lift the whole top off, and we'll remove the 3 inches. We'll also cut here and up and over and down. We'll cut this rear window upper portion out, and then we'll split it in half, and then we can make adjustments to the alignment between here and here, which is where it's going to go. Well, between here and here, excuse me. And so when this comes down, we're going to have to spread it a bit, and that'll leave a gap in the center area. We'll fill that gap with the material that we cut out of here. Really important when you're doing this, save all this window profile material right here, because this is what we're going to use then to fill in this section. For example, we have a gap here, we're going to cut a piece of this and it's going to go up here. So yeah, be really aware and cautious when you cut this out. Save your extra materials that you remove. You're going to need them, or at least portions of them, whenever you rebuild everything, put it all back together. So we're looking okay. Like I said, next thing I'm going to do, I may mark the A-pillars first, but we mark the A-pillars anytime. We need to mark the door, the windows on the door as well. But again, I want to get all the window hardware out. Just get it out of the way, because you've got the side window risers and all that are kind of in the way of where you want to cut. They're not going to get reused. I'm thinking seriously about getting rid of the side windows altogether and just going with a solid window. But we'll work that out later. If I do put side windows in, I'm going to have to customize the window frame hardware, and it'll all be custom glass anyway, so that's no big deal. But all right, well, let's move on and mark the A-pillars, and then we'll start stripping out the doors. Well, we got the truck out of the garage, and it's in the front drive. Took the cab off. Cab's over there. A number of things we need to do when I decide to take the cab off. In the cab's over here on the cab roll around. You can see there's the lift still in place. We haven't pulled it out yet, but so yeah, we're going to cut it while it's on the roll around. A little bit higher than on the frame, but yeah, use a stool, kind of short anyway. And so yeah, that's it. She's ready for work. Good help from my friend Yogi over there. I just thought I'd show it to you one more time. We gave it a quick bath with a pressure washer. It's not really clean, but looks better anyway. So I'll leave you with a little better image for this segment than I had in the last. So she's ready to go back in, and we'll start chopping the cab. Well, I just want to catch up with you on a few things. So the cab's off. The cab's on a rack outside, covered with the tarp currently. Pretty much have it marked out for the chop. I've got to work on getting the window and latch systems. I don't need to get the latch system out, but I might as well. On the passenger side door. Got all that out on the driver's side door. Originally, it still got the glass in it, so I was just going to roll it down to do the chop initially and pull out the vent window and deal with it later. And I broke the handle off of the window unit trying to roll it down. So it's got to be stripped before I can cut that door down. So work on that this week. Hopefully I'll get some more help this weekend, and then we'll finally get the shop going for real. In the meantime though, besides working on stripping the door out, I want to begin to work on some systems here while I'm doing the chop, while I'm doing the finish up, and then additional body work on the cab as well. There's a lot of systems here that are going to be much easier with the cab off, so we're going to get on them. So a few things. Here's the terminal point for the intermediate cable on the Mercy brake system. Need to finish it up, tighten it up, 415 it. We need to also put a second hole here in this tensioner bracket that I made for the Mercy brake cable system, and in order to do that, just need to drill a hole and get that thing removed. Also probably going to cut it off so that it has more adjustability forward because of this front body mount. Regretfully, whenever I took off the cab, I did not unhook the Mercy brake cable at first, and we started to lift the cab and I realized it stopped. Well, I'd already messed up the e-brake cable right there, so I'll have to order another one. This is the short one. It hooks up here and then just goes this distance, so it's not too bad. I could have broken a lot worse things than that. So the other thing we need to do, we need to 415 this section frame. That has not been done. Like the back end has been 415, the front end has been 415. Also, while the cab's off, we're going to take out the drive shaft. We're going to remove the transmission. We'll start getting the measurements we need for our clutch system. There are a series of measurements we need to get. We need to contact our clutch and our clutch plate, pressure plate, and disc, as well as the throwout bearing, hydraulic throwout bearing that we're going to use. Just get all that dimensioned and make sure we got the right equipment coming, and then boom, we'll be able to get that on there, which will be awesome. And then we'll also, while the cab is off, be able to get the clutch pedal system working. We're going to have a fair amount of work, design, whatever you want to call it, to figure out how to mount that slave cylinder that's going to be attached here. But we'll figure that one out as well while the cab is off. Other things we're going to do while the cab is off, we need to finish the fuel lines that were under the cab, get them secured to the frame, and then start on all our other tube systems. We need to get our air lines from all four wheels up to the air valve system. And we also want to run lines. We want to mount the compressor, run lines back to the tank, and then run lines from the tank back to the valve system. The tank is going to be in the cab, so we'll just dummy up some lines there, and we'll finish them up once the cab is on and the tank is mounted. Then also want to run the brake lines. Go ahead and run brake lines and get the proportioning valve installed, the residual pressure valves installed, all the brake lines. Go ahead and get the brake system done, get it bled up, and get it ready to go. Then what else was it? Oh, electrical. So we're using a GM type electrical loom, wiring loom, and it has a firewall mounted termination where you can plug it in and unplug it. So we have an outside loom, and then we have a cab interior loom, and they meet at the wall. Of course, also the relays, flashers, and what am I trying to say? The fuse block. They all mount inside on the back of that connector. So we'll go ahead and we'll start on the wiring loom and just get it wound, sorted and routed the way we want to route it. System wise, we've got obviously transmission sensors, we got the reverse light sensor, we've got the neutral switch, we've got the speedometer. On the brake system, we'll have a brake sensor on the proportioning valve. We've also got obviously rear lights of all types that have to be wired in the rear. So we'll just dummy those wires and tie them off back there somewhere. We've got the fuel pump wiring on the loom. We're not going to use this. This was temporary from the beginning. And so we'll have the fuel pump wiring. They'll come off the loom. And then we've got the engine management systems that are all on the loom. And then we've got front lights. So we need to break the systems down. We're going to forget if we're not careful. Not worried about systems in the cab at this point, just worried about systems external to the cab. And yeah, we'll get that started. So hopefully that'll get going real quick. Yeah, lots of stuff to do. But we're just going to finish up step by step by step, work through everything slowly. The chop's going to be primarily probably a weekend adventure. And so it's going to depend upon availability of weekends. But listen, we've got several weeks worth of work, at least several weeks worth of work to do to get this going. Another thing we're going to do is while the trans is out, obviously, you know, the drive shaft will be out, the trans will be out. We're going to use a chain fall off the ceiling here, and we're going to lift the engine straight up, and then we're going to finish up welding of the motor mounts. They are heavily tacked, but they are not fully welded. So we'll get those welded in at the same time. We'll go ahead and weld in this steering bearing bracket and get that system finished up. Lots of stuff to do, lots of systems to finish. We did give it a bit of a pressure wash. It's certainly not perfect, but it's better than it was, and yeah, liking it good. I think we may have a little bit of misalignment on those wheels, huh? The rear end's not been aligned at all. We've got a lot of work. Yeah, so we'll just get moving from here. A lot of things, a lot of details we're going to touch and get going. We'll also need to finish up this transmission cross member. One, it needs to be bolted to the frame so that it doesn't want to move about. And then on top of that, it needs to be 415'd, you know, brushed off rust and 415 it. And then if you'll notice, it's cocked. You know, this is forward, this is rear. Again, we were laying under the truck and we put it in, not worried about that. Before we drill it, obviously, we'll square it to the frame and yeah, make it all as it should be. But yeah, we'll finish that system up and get all the 415 on there as well. So lots of details, lots of stuff to do. Quit boring you with it. Let's just get to doing it, and we'll talk to you as we go.